So let's be honest, things just aren't quite the same. The sports card market is down, it's harder to flip, there's limited grading options, and the majority of cards, even some pretty big, nice cards, have been trending downwards since February. Now, obviously, that's not saying everyone should panic sell or everyone lost their shirt. I'm sure the majority of people, as long as you weren't super over leveraged and you got in anytime before February, you're doing just fine. But I do think there's a lot of people wondering if the sports card market will ever get back to some of those COVID times when it was just so hot and things were really just exploding all over the place. This isn't a rush in and buy everything you can type video, because that's not how I feel at all. But I did just want to share the things that I've heard recently that have made me really optimistic, not necessarily on the super short term or even just, a 10-year plan, but I thought some of you guys might find it encouraging, or at the very least interesting, the 3 things I've heard lately that have made me very optimistic for the sports card market in 2022. And the first reason would be that PSA is coming back. They are going to be reopening. Now, they're not reopening everything, but it came out in the last couple days. Nat Turner, who's the CEO of PSA, he actually responded to an Instagram comment, which is an interesting way to announce it, but hey, kudos to him for engaging with us on social media. And he said that PSA regular service is going to be opening in the next 2 weeks. And sure, that may not really move the needle for most people in terms of what they're submitting to PSA. The price range is probably going to be likely $100, but it's definitely a movement in the right direction. But it wasn't just that. If it was just that alone, then sure, that's great. Congrats, regular is coming back. But it's also what he was saying on the Card Talk pod and other interviews he's done, that PSA really is committed to getting that price point back to $10.
Our goal is to get it back to where it was. I think there's a lot of cards that don't make sense to grade if it's, unless it's $10. That's where we want to get back to.
Hey, maybe they never do get to $10. Maybe that's just a goal. Even if it's $20, or even if they can just match the 25 of SGC, I just think that would be so great for the hobby. And hey, I'm no data analyst or data specialist, but I've been crunching the numbers a little bit. I've been doing a little bit of my own math, and I really think they can do it. I really do think it's coming sooner than you think. PSA is consistently, at least in the neighborhood of, and has gotten all the way up to 200,000 cards graded per week. Now, if you really think about that, that is a lot of cards. 200,000 times 52 weeks is 10 million cards per year.
2 + 2 is 4, -1, that's 3, quick maths.
And they'll tell you themselves, they're not even at their full capacity, their complete full strength yet. And with that kind of capacity, it just makes sense that they have to offer at least a $25 option. I would be very surprised if they're going to be able to fill 10 million spots with $100 submissions. And some people might already be jumping in. They did though. They got so many cards last year. And you're right, they did. But even if they go back to $25 a card, I just don't think they will again. I think people underestimate the amount of cards in that backlog that people would not submit again if they could do it right now at a $25 price point. For Prism Basketball 2019 alone, there is 500,000 cards that have been graded by PSA from that set. And I'm sorry, my algorithm is broken right now, but how many of those are Prism base cards of Brandon Clark, Rui Hachimura? I'm sure there's worse examples that I can't even think of right now. People aren't gonna submit Prism base in those numbers anymore. Sure, you'll probably submit an Anthony Edwards or a LaMelo Ball. I'm sure there's a price point that makes sense, and there's always gonna be the random flyer here and there that people send in. But in the numbers that they were sent in during 2019 for that set, never again. It just doesn't make sense for what Prism base sells for on the market. Heck, forget Prism Basketball, Panini Chronicles, $150K. Does it even make sense to submit LaMelo Ball Chronicles at $25 a card? Maybe, but I'd argue probably not. So that was very rough math there, and feel free to check out guys who are like super knowledgeable on it, like GemRate and Retro Hoop Collectibles, who I got some of this information from. But I really do think with a capacity of 10 million or maybe even more, they will be able to justify a $25 price point. And why is that good for sports card prices? It's simple. The churning people do at PSA, it just gives people more capital, and that's nothing but good for sports card prices. The second reason I'm hopeful is also a piece of recent news. Josh Luber, who's the CEO of Fanatics division they're creating for sports cards, recently went on the Sports Card Nonsense podcast. And he talked a lot about his plans for Fanatics in the future and all these different things. I won't get into all of it. Recommend for you guys to check it out if you're interested. But what he reiterated in that interview that was really interesting to me is the fact that Fanatics plans to 10x the sports card market. That's really what they think they can do. And sure, he could definitely be optimistic, and of course that's what they have to say. They just got into sports cards, but he's done it before. He mentioned that when he founded StockX, their projection for how big the sneaker market could be, now StockX alone, just themselves, is 4 times as big as what that projection was. And it's not just them. Wall Street money, serious investors, all of these different types of companies and money flowing into the hobby, people starting all these new businesses. Those people are all optimistic on the growth of the hobby and what it can become. So that really gives me confidence that this will continue to grow. And I have a lot more faith in their analytical data projections than I have in just these passing thoughts that come through my head. And the third would be the fact that prices are just relatively low right now. This is kind of hard for me to quantify, and I mentioned it in another video that, I've bought 1 or 2 NFTs here and there, and it is shocking to me, guys, what people are paying for NFTs right now. New projects are releasing every day with no type of reputation, no type of team, not really a unique design, and with an average mint price of 0.07 Ethereum, including gas, and just long story short, $500 basically to buy a random NFT, and they are all selling out. People are paying $500 for any NFT that hits the market. And when I look at what people are paying for NFTs and also compare it to what the market was like during COVID, where people were paying $200 for Prism-based cards of players who weren't even in the rotation. And now I can buy Kobe Bryant cards, Messi cards, Ronaldo cards for $40, $50 a pop of good stuff, of Topps Chrome variations. You can go get a graded rookie if you want. And it just falls in so well to my general investing philosophy that I've shared on the channel before. Could I sleep at night? I am happy to put my $500 into a nice Messi card instead of an NFT, or even, putting it in the bank and getting 1% interest and just seeing what happens and just being optimistic that over time, cards that matter will grow, and the sports card market will grow also. I apologize, guys, if it was a little ranty. I just had some ideas kind of come into my head, and it was encouraging for me, so I wanted to share it with you guys. But as always, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe, and we will see you next time.